Thanks all you folks for coming out here. I haven't spoken to a whole group of high school students, I think, like this in about 20 years. Anybody here from New Jersey?
Yes.
From the great state. Did you know that the motto of your state comes from Dante? Did you know that?
Yeah.
You did know that?
No.
What is it? It comes from Dante. It actually comes from this, lasciate ogni speranza voi che entrate. You know what it means? Abandon all hope, you who enter here. You're driving along Interstate 80 from Pennsylvania across the Delaware River, you see signs that says, "Welcome to New Jersey, the Garden State, abandon all hope." I hear also that at the Abbey here, you guys, you read the Inferno, right? But you stop there, you won't go on to Purgatorio and Paradiso. And I always think that as like saying that we're going to go and tour the United States, come from a foreign country to tour the United States, and you stay in Newark International Airport. And then you go home, we were in the United States, where were you? We were in Newark Airport. What did you do there? Oh, no. Anyway, I would like to talk to you this morning about what an education is. I'm going to refer to Dante quite a lot, or maybe what an education is and what it isn't. There is a book that I'm very fond of by Charles Dickens. Anybody fond of Charles Dickens here? Yes? Okay, good. For those of you from Rhode Island public schools, Charles Dickens was a novelist in the 19th century. And if anybody here is from URI, a novel is a long work of fiction. And anyway, should have done it because all I can do is laugh, right? There's a novel called Hard Times, which is one of Dickens' novels. He's always writing about education in one way or another, but it's essentially about education. It begins with a guy with a rather square head who's the headmaster of the school. This school is all about one thing and one thing only. He says, facts, facts, facts. Teach these children nothing but facts. So only facts and root out everything else. Right? As if the human being were a mere container to be stuffed full of facts, or as now we would say, information. Nothing else. Now, that can't really be an education fit for a human being, and Dickens shows that in Hard Times. I'm going to show it a little bit, I hope, this morning. Education for a human being has to be an education in love and about love. And I don't want to be, I'm not being sentimental here. I'm being a hard-headed realist, because the human being is made for love. The human being is constituted, as Dante would say, with an intellect and a will. And the intellect sees what's good and instructs the will on what is good, or what is best. And the will is to move towards that good with desire. Okay? Now, with a mere animal like my dog Jasper, who does 80 tricks, by the way, Jasper the Wonder Dog. Jasper sees my wife eating ice cream and immediately knows that's good. Okay? We'll go over to her, he gets to lick the dish at the end of it. We say, okay, well, that's funny. That's what a dog does. But human being, because a human being is possessed of intellect, the human being doesn't have to go after this little good, their little droplet of ice cream. The human being can judge among various things and say, that, though that is good, it is not as good as this over here. This is better. Or this which is good, I can desire, but not in this particular way. Or maybe this would be a good thing if I kept it in its proper place, but becomes bad if I let it become the center of my life. This is the whole human adventure. It's an adventure of the intellect and the desire and the will. Now, what Dante shows us, the beginning of hell, just as you cross the river, what he shows us is that we sin most often not by desiring too much, but by desiring too little, and by desiring things that, though they might be good in a certain sense, are not the ultimate good, and maybe not even all that good compared to other things on earth. So I'm going to go back to here, the very beginning of Dante's Divine Comedy. And I say an education in love is an adventurous thing, and what's going on at the beginning of the Inferno is not adventurous at all. In fact, it's rather dismal. This is how he begins. Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself in a dark wilderness, for I had wandered from the straight and true. How hard a thing it is to tell about, that wilderness so savage, dense, harsh. Even to think of it renews my fear. It is so bitter, death is hardly more. But to reveal the good that came to me, I shall relate the other things I saw. How I had entered, I can't bring to mind. I was so full of sleep just at that point when I first left the way of truth behind. I was full of sleep. It's as if he's in the middle of his life, 35 years old. He's supposed to live 70 years. He's 35 years old. He's right there in the middle of his life, and the life is a journey. The life is an adventurous journey, but he's not having any journey at all because he's wandered from the straight and true path, and he's just meandering aimlessly in this wilderness, this bitter wilderness. And he enters that wilderness. He can't even remember how he entered it because he was full of sleep. Pieno di sonno. He was, as it were, he slept-walked through his life. And then found himself, when he kind of woke up, he found himself in the meadowlands of New Jersey. And what a rotten place to be. And so he naturally desires to get out of this, right? He's had a deficiency. That is, he has not moved towards what's really good with all the passion of his heart. So now he's stuck in this place, and he is still moved to desire what's good, but he can't attain it on his own. He doesn't have the power. He sees this hill over there, and the sun is rising beyond that hill. And that's a hill, it's kind of symbolic, that's a hill that brings joy. And he tries to climb that hill. And these beasts, if you remember, those of you who've read the Inferno, these beasts get in the way. Beasts that represent various kinds of sin, or various kinds of ways of getting things wrong, of desiring something that's not the ultimate good. It's maybe only partial good, and making it into the God of your life. Well, it doesn't give you power, this sort of thing. It robs you of power. That's what Dante shows. So the third of the three beasts is the one that's really harmful to him and to everybody. It's beast, I think, that represents avarice. You want things, power. For Dante, avarice, greed, does not mean that you necessarily want a lot of money. You probably do. But it's also a greed for power, for prestige. So this beast get in his way, as he says. So heavily she weighed my spirit down, pressing me by the terror of her glance. I lost all hope to gain the mountain. He's like a gambler who is winning on a winning streak, and then he hits a losing skid. And it's all despair. And he's wandering about at the base of this hill. He can't take another step up it. And there he would remain forever. Okay? This is not a glamorous sinner that we're talking about here. Sin is not glamorous. Sin is rather drab. And he's stuck in what is essentially now a rather drab life, a kind of death in life, waiting for death. And there's nothing that he can do. That's when Virgil appears to him. Okay? And Virgil is going to give him help getting out of there, getting out of New Jersey. When he meets Virgil for the first time, he sees this guy and he says, you gotta help me, you gotta help me, have mercy on me, whether you are a shade or a man in truth. And when Virgil answers as a man who loves things, okay? He doesn't answer as a guy with a calculator saying, well, I've reevaluated your risks here, we need to take a left turn and then a right turn. He answers as a man who was devoted, okay? He's Dante's personification of reason, that's what most people say. And yet Virgil is a man of powerful passions for things that are genuinely good, not for things that are low and base. So when he defines himself, when he identifies himself to Dante, he identifies himself in terms of things that he was devoted to, that he loved. He answered me, so that Dante's asked, wherever you are, please help me out. He answered me, no man, I was a man. And both of my parents came from Lombardy, and Mantua they called their native land. We might think in the United States, because we were kind of rootless, that this doesn't mean anything. It's just saying, oh, I came from Wilmington, Delaware. No, this is, I came from Lombardy. That was my land. I came from Mantua. That was my city. In the last days of Julius, I was born, Julius Caesar, and lived in Rome under the good Augustus in the time of the false and cheating gods. He's devoted to the memory of Augustus. I was a poet, and I sang of how that just son of Anchises came from Troy, when her proud towers and walls were burnt to dust. I was a poet. I was devoted to my country. I was devoted to my craft. I honor my father and my mother. I honor my native land. And then he turns to Dante and he says, what's up with you? And, you may not have to do this with an Italian accent, an Italian-American accent. Hey, what's up with you? Why do you turn back to such pain? Ma tu, perché ne torni a tanta noia? What are you doing here? Why don't you climb that hill that brings delight, the origin and cause of every joy? Why are you here? And Dante's reply first is, oh my gosh, you're a virgin. So we see in Dante a similar kind of devotion, a love. Then it occurs to Dante to explain, I can't because these beasts are in my way, but first it's, you're a virgin. You're a virgin, oh my gosh, you're a virgin. You're the guy who has been my leading light. You are my teacher. You are my authority. If it weren't for your poetry, I wouldn't have been able to write anything that was any good. You're a man. Please help me. And so that's when Virgil lays on him the news that if he's ever really going to escape this spiritual desert that he's in, he's going to have to see the consequences of what happens to the human person when the human person gets everything wrong. When you cloud your intellect or harden your heart against what is really good, what is noble, what is best. Let's see what happens to you, right? You mustn't think of hell as some kind of punishment imposed by God from without. If you eat arsenic, you're going to die. If you shoot yourself in the foot, you're going to limp. And if you get matters of the intellect and the passions wrong, that will have a similar effect on your spiritual constitution, because that's how we're made. Okay? How can we get things wrong? Well, we'll see how we get things wrong. We'll go down to hell. Now, there is something about hell that everybody knows. It's kind of easy to get there. What's the difficult thing is to get back out. Okay? And so Dante has initially agreed with Virgil. He says, okay, right, lead me down there. Anything. Okay? But then when he thinks about it for a moment, he says, well, wait. Listen a second. He says, Virg, I don't know about this. I go down there. I know that Aeneas, in your poem, Aeneas went down there, but he went down there for a purpose. He went down to bring back knowledge of what was going to happen in Rome to be. And St. Paul had a vision of the afterlife, but St. Paul was God's chosen vessel. I'm only me. I'm not Aeneas, and I'm not St. Paul. I think it would be kind of foolish for me to go down there, so maybe I better not take this journey. I'll just stay in the Newark International Airport. Okay. Now, at this point in the poem, you have to let me know when I'm getting near to time, right? Okay. At this point in the poem, we might expect Virgil to give Dante a logical argument, right? Hey, Dante, look, you don't have any choice. It's either stay in this wilderness where you're lost, you're done for, okay? Or come along with me. When your chances are zero and dangerous, well, you might as well choose the danger, because otherwise you're lost, right? So what's not to gain here? Okay? But the surprise is that he does not give him that kind of argument. He tells him a story, and the story has to do with love. Okay? He says, you are being a coward. And, you know, the life of sin is, I think, basically a life of turning away from the great adventure. It is a life of cowardice, ultimately. So he says, that's what's happening to you. You're getting cold feet. Cowardice is hurting you here. So let me tell you why I first came down. I was among the souls in limbo when so lovely and blessed a lady called to me. I asked her for the grace of a command. Now, the odd thing is, this is going to be Beatrice, right? Those of you who read The Inferno understand who Beatrice is. But the funny thing is that in our first introduction to Beatrice in the Divine Comedy, it's Virgil who we see first as somebody who falls in love with Beatrice. Not Dante, but Virgil is first, right? The first person we see in the poem. She is so beautiful and so blessed that his intellect, seeing this, okay, without necessarily being able to express it in words or to explain it, his intellect immediately informs his will. This is a person whom it would be a delight and a grace to obey. He, before she even identifies herself, asks her to give him a command. Okay? Please tell me what I may do for you. Her eyes were flashing brighter than the stars, and she addressed me with an angel's voice, sweetly and softly, in such words as these. And Italian is totally beautiful. Anything here study Italian? You're a study Italian. You can tell somebody in Italian to go to hell, and it still sounds nice. Vai all'inferno. You know? Tell somebody to go to heaven in German, geht zum Himmel. This is why God, in His infinite mercy, does not allow German to be spoken in hell, because it would be like adding insult to injury. I do love German, actually. Italian is a beautiful language, and Dante pulls out all the stops here. Beatrice's first words, O anima cortese Madonna, O kind and gracious soul of Mantova, whom the world still renounce and ever shall, whose fame will last as long as earth endures. She's flattering him, but she's praising him too. She admires him, the friend I love, and not the friend of fortune. Has been so checked along his journey up the desert slope, he has turned back for dread. And from what I have heard of him in heaven, I fear he may have wandered so far wrong, my rising for his help may come too late. Go then, and with the beauty of your words, and any skill you have to set him free, help him, that I may be consoled. I am the blessed Beatrice who bid you go. Love makes me speak, and bade me hasten from the place that stirs my longing to return. When I shall stand before my Lord, I vow often to speak to him in praise of you. Love makes me speak. Love has moved me. Okay? And he responds in love. This is the courtly and chivalrous response of the man who immediately sees her beauty, which is not just a physical beauty, but spiritual beauty too. And he says, if I had gone already, it would be too late. It would be to dally too much. I'm gone. I'm not. But tell me more. Why are you not afraid to print your feet here on the floor of hell? What? She says, none of this can harm me, right? And then she proceeds to elaborate on how she heard about Dante's trouble. And what we have here is a series of relationships of love, which is also a series of relationships of people who see things, who see what is good. So she says, a gentle lady in heaven, and the name Mary, or the name of Christ, will not appear in Inferno. Inferno is not worthy to have the name of Mary. So we refer to her as the gentle lady in heaven. Was so moved with pity for that soul whose way is barred, she broke the rigid sentence from above. She called to Lucy, that Santa Lucia, making this request: your faithful follower now has need of you. I give him over to your loving care. Lucy, the foe of every cruelty, arose and hastened to the place where I sat beside Rachel in the ancient days. Beatrice, true praise of God, why do you not come to the aid of him who loved you so, that for your sake he left the common crowd? Do you not hear him weeping piteously? Do you not see the death he wrestles with upon the flood tide violent as the sea? And Beatrice says, I came down quicker than a man moves when he's seizing upon profit or fleeing from harm. I left my blessed seat to come down here to rest my trust upon your noble speech, which honors you and those who heed it well. Mary has seen Dante's plight. Mary says to Santa Lucia, this man has had devotion to you. I give him to your loving care. Lucy then moves to Beatrice and says, Beatrice, why are you not acting? This man used to be devoted to you. You see what trouble he's in. And Beatrice now moves to Virgil to plead with him. Okay? And Virgil is, of course, pleading with Dante. This is a complex set of relationships of love, which is not different from seeing what is truly beautiful and what is truly good. So when Beatrice finishes speaking, she turned her glistening eyes all bright with tears, says Virgil, which made me the readier to go. And that's why I came down here. That's why I came. And then he says, okay, what is it then? Why stand here? Why delay? Perché restai? Why let such cowardice come take your heart? Why not fire and bold and free, seeing that three such ladies blessed in heaven care for your healing from their court above? And what I tell you holds forth so much good. Okay? Why are you not bold? Why are you not on fire? Why are you not free, not in the modern sense? The government tells you that you can do what you please in this regard. But free of your soul, free with your love. Why are you not that way? Three such ladies blessed in heaven cared for you. So what are you doing here still? Come on with me. And then Dante says he was like a flower. He was like a flower that's shut tight, closed and cold at night. But when the sun shines upon it, it rises open petaled on its stem upright. So did my weary courage surge again. And such sweet boldness rushed into my heart. I cried out as a man at last set free, O Lady of compassion and my help. I'm ready to go. Your words have set in me a longing to get on. You, my teacher, you're my authority, you're my leader. I will go where you follow. You've turned me to our first intention. Go. For we two now share one will alone. You are my guide, my teacher, and my Lord. And they go. Now, cold feet there. Now, of course, when they go to hell, it's going to get cold feet in various places. Always the temptation for Dante will be to let fear dampen that love. to have that love turn gray and lukewarm or cold. Okay? Sin has no glamour about it in Dante's Inferno. It reduces people, sludges them up, makes them one-dimensional, even at that. Sometimes they even lose their names. Okay? And to show you exactly, just give you an image. Time you got there, Chris? Okay. To show you the devastating effect that sin has upon the capacity to know and to love, I bring you to the moment in the third canto where Dante and Virgil are about to cross the river Acheron to go to hell proper. You cross that river and you're in hell, basically. And he takes Charon, the boatman from classical mythology. Charon is coming at them there over the water. It's not much of a boat. It's a small skiff. He doesn't have a sail. He pushes it along with a pole that he can stick in the mud of the swampy river Acheron. He's naked. He's old. His eyes are red. You've got to imagine this is a bad day for these souls. You know, they die. That's bad. Then they show up on the banks of a swampy river. That's bad. And along comes an old naked guy with red eyes, and he says in Italian, "Guai a voi, anime brave, were you, crooked souls? Non sperate mai vedere lo cielo. Give up all hope to look upon the sky. Io vengo per menarvi all'altra riva, nelle tenebre eterne, in caldo and gelo. I come to lead you to the other shore, into eternal darkness, fire and ice. And as for you there, you the living soul, get away from these others who are dead," says the Dante. Think about that curse, okay? Non sperate mai vedere lo cielo. In a lot of the languages, a lot of human languages, the word for sky and the word for heaven are the same. We have different in English. I could explain that to you, but not the place for it. But in Italian, the word cielo does double duty for sky and heaven. So I translated it as sky, because I figured you get the idea of heaven from that. But I wanted to emphasize the idea of sky too, because imagine this, okay? Imagine that you will never be able to look upon the beauty of the sky again. Think about that. Think about how claustrophobic this is. How narrow, how pitiful, how limited, how drab. Okay? Natural thing that when you do, every single one of us does this. When you walk outside of your house at night, on a clear night, you will look up. Even if you live in Los Angeles, you're going to look up. You might not see anything, but you'll still look up. My dog Jasper, he goes outside, he sniffs around, he doesn't look up. Man is made to look up. Okay? Why? What do the stars have anything to do with me? And yet I look at them. I not only look at them, I behold them. I think about them, even if unconsciously. I am moved by their beauty. We are meant to aspire to more than mere facts and drudgery, or more than the lusts of the flesh or the lusts of pride. I get my plaque here. I'm a mid-level bureaucrat. Now I can die. We are meant for more than that. Okay? Imagine being told then, after a misused life, after a life in which you did not love him, did not love what was best, did not love enough, you grew cold-hearted. Imagine that then the sky is forever removed for you, because you have removed it for you. You have hidden yourself in a hole. And you hear these words, "Give up all hope to look upon the sky." Give up all hope. My dear young people, don't let this, as they used to say in certain army videos in World War II, health videos, don't let this happen to you, okay? Don't let this happen to you. My advice to you, my urging to you here today is, I know that it is a world of ambition, unfortunately. And I know about such things as money, unfortunately. But you are not made for those, okay? You are made for more adventurous things, higher things, and more beautiful things. Don't lose sight of them, okay? Don't be in the position that Dante finds himself in the dark wilderness, where you need drastic help from the outside, even just to be able to take a single step up a hill. And certainly don't find yourself in a position where you hear those terrible words, give up all hope to look upon the sky. In fact, maybe tonight, this one thing you should do is to look around the sky. And I think we're down time, so I thank you for listening so politely. Thank you. I always say that Inferno is easiest to teach because lots of really cool things happen to people, you know? I mean, you're a bunco artist, a con artist, and you're afflicted with vile skin disease, so all you do is scratch, right? Or you're suicide, so you're turned into a tree. Or you're an advertising executive. Oh, I meant a flatterer. You're plunged up to your neck in excrement from a latrine. Those are cool things, you know, we can get into that. It's just the easiest to teach. Paradise is the best poetry, and it's the hardest to teach because it's most intellectually complex. It's purgatory that is my favorite. And purgatory, in Dante's vision, purgatory is not down there. It's not low carbohydrate hell. It is on the surface of the earth. It's a mountain. And everybody in purgatory gets to look upon the skies. Okay? It's a realm of hope and joy and wonder. And if any of the three will make you weep tears of joy or gratitude, it would be purgatory. So that's my favorite. Dante is very generous with old Virgil. Virgil did not have the three theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity, but he followed faultlessly the four he knew. Those are Dante's words: courage, temperance, wisdom, and justice. And so we see, in the first instance, the wrecked human beings, the ruined souls of those who could have loved God. Many Christians could have loved God and didn't. But others who did not even follow the four virtues that are given to pagans to know. We find out through Virgil what those ruins look like. There are a lot of reasons. Though. That's one reason. But the people of the Middle Ages, and Dante followed them in this, they had a very high opinion of what human reason could achieve. Human reason, even unaided by divine revelation, could tell you what was courageous, just, wise, and temperate. It could tell you that. Okay? So you have no excuse if you fall foul of those. It's a fascinating choice, but that's a question that requires a lot of different answers. And the big question for Dante in Paradise, the question that preys upon his mind is, what happens eternally to such people as Virgil? Okay? That's not a question that he asked. It's the money question with regard to virtuous pagans. And Dante did believe that there were pagans who were virtuous. Virgil is case in point. It's full of medieval theology and philosophy. It's full of all kinds of learning, right? I mean, you see a guy who has his head cut off and he's holding it like a lantern, right? Because he instigated a rebellion by the prince against the prince's own father, the king. Well, you get that, right? I mean, he cut the head off from the body, you know. That's easy to get. But what exactly the relationship is between the will and the intellect, right? I mean, those are more difficult questions. What exactly is the nature of human freedom? He had to crank up the works. He had to exert all his power to write Paradise. It took me twice as long to translate Paradise as either of the two others. It's his poetry at its very best, also at its most highly intellectual. It's not a bunch of people playing pickleball up there. When you go to college, right? I have written this, and I don't want to be crass, but I have written that colleges are often places where you are robbed of your faith, your reason, your common sense, and your money. That it would be much cheaper to go to a mental ward or a courthouse. It might be healthier too. So, yeah. You want to find teachers in college, and some colleges have a lot of them, some colleges only a few. I think that every college has at least one or two somewhere. You want to find them who teach, let's say, literature or music or art, whatever it is, right? Because they love it, okay? They love it. They believe that if you immerse yourself in this work, whether it's music or art or literature or whatnot, if you immerse yourself in it, you will be a better human being because these people have things to show you that are true and useful and good. Okay? You want to find those people. You would not believe me, but you should. I've been in higher education since 1977 when I was a freshman in college. Many professors, in some places they're in the majority, they teach English literature not because they love, but because they hate. Okay? Well, you have people who teach Shakespeare not because they love Shakespeare, but because they hate Shakespeare and want to bring him down, want to cut him down in size. You want to avoid those people. All people who teach whatever they teach for political reasons, you want to avoid. Okay? Just be near people who are in love, right? In love with what they teach because what they teach is good and beautiful. Not for any other reason. Not because, I love teaching this because it'll turn my students into political activists. To hell with political activists. You're paying a lot of money. You can be a political activist for nothing. Okay? What you really want to pay money for is to be around somebody who is immersed in the work, who loves it, who has made it a big part of his life, and who has great and wonderful things to show you. Okay? That might be worth your money. The other is waste. Okay? Find those people out and be in their presence, and they will show you what it means to be a human being who has had his imagination, his very soul shaped by these great things. Okay? Find them and avoid the others. Just run away from the others. They're a waste of your money. Yes, sir?
Could you tell us the 10 ways to kill the imagination of your child?
I forgot. I will tell you one. And I was walking around the Abbey here. I arrived here late last night, and I didn't get to see the grounds. And I'm looking around and saying, "Holy cow, you guys are lucky." I see the one thing that if you want to kill your kid's imagination, you got to keep your kid away from, and it's that stuff out there. Okay, outdoors. Because outdoors are all kinds of amazing things. There's the sky, there are plants, there's water, there's trees, there's fruit, there's animals, there's stuff that you can eat that you may not know that you can eat, there's stuff that's poisonous, but there's all kinds of great things, and the great things to find out there, and great things to do with other people. Keep them indoors at all costs. Okay? Make their bodies and their imaginations sickly and pale. That'll help. But giving them a kayak to, as Mr. Fisher has told me, some of you guys have done, to go over to Prudence Island, right, in a canoe, that you must never do. A person on a canoe out in the water might actually think some things, okay? Might actually be a human being again. We don't want that. The whole economy would collapse if we were human beings again. We would buy all the wasteful and silly things, right? So you got to keep them indoors. When I was at Princeton, I lucked into professors who did for me what I suggest you, professors you ought to find when you go to college to do for you. I just stumbled upon it. Princeton's a rather dark and lonely place. Princeton is an evil place, a priest once told me, and he should know he spent 12 years there. Yet there were professors there in the English department who taught literature because they loved it, simply because they loved it. And I happened upon a Shakespeare professor who taught Shakespeare as a Christian playwright, which Shakespeare was. And I said, holy cow, I never heard this before. I had gone to Catholic school for 12 years, and I'd never heard the name of St. Augustine. Never heard the name. Or Thomas Aquinas. Well, I heard the name of Thomas Aquinas because it was the name of my church, but I didn't know anything about him. And this guy, it was like walking onto a different universe. A universe of beauty and meaning, a universe where all kinds of things made sense. And he made me fall in love with Renaissance literature. Once I'd fallen in love with Renaissance literature, I knew that I had also to learn ancient literature and medieval literature that went before. That meant I had to learn languages, which I always loved languages. And that was, it was providential. I lucked out into it. Is there a place for pity in hell? That's one of the big questions. Dante, he feels pity for Paolo and Francesca, the two, adulterers. Actually, kind of incest too, his brother-in-law and sister-in-law. But the pity is suspicious. It seems to be a bit misplaced. And as he goes farther and farther down into hell, pity is less and less often to be found. But I think a certain kind of pity might be appropriate. That is, you have a grim sort of reaction. It's not sentimental. It's not weepy. That people sometimes of such nobility, people possessed powerful intellects, or people who really did possess a certain virtue, like the virtue of patriotism, should be damned for things that they did, for what they made of themselves. But it's such a waste, where you look upon it and you say, my gosh, what a waste that is. What a wreck. What it could have been, but it wasn't. If that's what we mean by pity, then there's a place for that in hell. If we mean sympathy and we actually think that they don't belong there, that doesn't belong in hell. And to the extent that Dante, the character in the poem, not the author, but the character, to the extent that he feels that, I think he's pulled up short now and again. And at the very bottom of hell, it's often quite the reverse. You remember that he's walking along this ice with heads sticking up out of the ice, and a voice says, watch out, don't step on the heads of these traitors. And sure enough, he's walking along, it's foggy, you can't hardly see in front of you, and he stumps his foot on the face of one of the traitors, who starts spitting abuse at him, and Dante then figures out who the guy is, who he thinks he is. He's a traitor to Florence, and he goes over to him. And he ends up, you may remember, winding the guy's hair around his wrist and yanking it out in bunches. Tell me who you are, tell me who you are. Because I think I know who you are, but I want to hear it from your own lips. And I think that's just fun. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a guy thing, but I can feel that in my wrists, you know? I'm not tearing somebody's long hair out by the roots. You were a traitor, you were a traitor. No pity there. And purgatory is such a completely different realm, we almost forget that there ever was a question like that. Is there time for another bit? That's it for everybody, okay.